My current Chief of Staff, Kevin O'Dowd, will be nominated for Attorney General when the new legislature comes into session on January 14th. Kevin has served me extraordinarily well over the last 10 years. We began to work together in January of 2003 at the U.S. Attorney's Office and worked on some of the most significant matters that the office handled during my tenure at U.S. Attorney's Office with Kevin. Then asked him to come here after I was elected governor to be my deputy chief counsel in charge of much of our interaction with the state legislature. Upon Rich Bagger's departure midway through the first term, I asked Kevin to be chief of staff, where he served now for nearly the last 2 years. I've known Kevin both as a friend and as a professional over the last decade, and I am really grateful that he's willing to continue his government service to serve as New Jersey's next Attorney General. I'm sure that the legislature, the state Senate in particular, when they return for their new session January 14th, will give swift consideration and confirmation to Kevin's nomination as Attorney General. I look forward to working with him in that new capacity. And while obviously, given the nature of the position, our relationship from a day-to-day basis will change, I have a great deal of confidence in the fact that he'll serve the people of this state extraordinarily well as the Attorney General, and I look forward to working with him in that capacity. As a result, I've asked Regina Egea, who is currently the director of my authorities unit, to be the new chief of staff. Regina and I began to know each other 5 years ago when I announced for governor, and Regina came on to co-chair my policy group with Bob Martin. Since that period of time, she served both the state treasurer as his chief of staff, and then here as the director of our authorities unit. Regina has done an extraordinary job, has an exceptional background in the private sector before entering government, and also time as a local elected official. Each one of those pieces will serve her extraordinarily well in this new challenge of being the chief of staff in this organization. But Regina is someone rather that I have a great deal of confidence in, someone who has worked extraordinarily well with me over the last 5 years, and someone who, as I said to her earlier today, I'm looking forward to our relationship growing and developing even more now that she'll be in this new position serving me and serving the people of the state. Also asked Amy Cradic to become the new Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy and Cabinet Liaison. Amy will be replacing Deborah Gramiccioni. Deborah will be moving on to new opportunities within the administration. We'll be prepared to announce those in the coming week or two. Amy has served in this capacity also at the DEP. From a policy perspective, I trust Amy's judgment. Her experience here in state government is extensive. She's someone whose advice I've relied upon already, and whose advice I will continue to rely upon in this new position, not only in advising me on policy, but also in terms of making sure that our interactions with our cabinet officials are seamless in terms of development and the execution of policy here in this administration. I'm also happy to say that our Deputy Chief of Staff, Lou Goetting, is remaining on, and I'm happy that Lou has consented to be willing to continue to serve as the Deputy Chief of Staff moving forward into the second term. Offered Maria Camella a new title today, but we decided the title she has already is long enough. So Maria will stay on as well as the Deputy Chief of Staff for Communications and for Planning, and work very closely, obviously, with Amy Cradic and the other folks on the development of policy as well. I've said all along from the time I was U.S. Attorney that in these jobs, you're only as good as the people around you. That's a cliche, but it became a cliche because it's true. The fact is that if you don't have good people around you, you can't have any chance of doing well in this job. So I'm really grateful for these folks and their willingness to continue to serve at some real sacrifice to themselves and to their families. And we'll have more announcements for you as we go forward. But fact is that for me, one of the really gratifying parts of this service has been the long-term relationships that I've had with so many of the people who serve with me. You look at a lot of the people who we talk about today and who continue to surround me. These are folks who have been with me for a very long time. And I've said, two things in politics. You can't teach smart and you can't teach loyal. You can teach everything else, but you can't teach smart and you can't teach loyal. And all these people are both of those things. And I think they've proven that to the people of the state and the people in this building over the course of the last 4 years. I'm looking forward to having them around for a lot longer.